And now, our next inductee into the class of 2014 of the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg and I were talking outside a little while ago, and I had some notes here prepared, and I might scrap a good chunk of them, because he said something that really meant something to me from a standpoint of being here in this area and working for the primary wrestling company for many, many years. But I just want to gloss over a couple of Greg's accomplishments. He has held more than 40 championships throughout his illustrious career. That is an amazing number. And of course, he is a second-generation wrestler. His father was one of the best. If you ever saw Johnny Valentine wrestle, you know what I'm talking about. He learned it well. But he wasn't Greg Valentine at the beginning, folks. He took some names like Babyface Nelson. Oh my God. And also, how about, anybody remember that he was called Johnny Fargo at one time? Oh my. But, you know, things happen for Greg. He wrestled in the 70s as Johnny Fargo, primarily in the National Wrestling Federation. And then he went to the NWA in 1976. He debuted in Jim Crockett Promotions. He had an amazing run there. And he formed a tag team with Ric Flair. They won the NWA Tag Team Championship on 2 occasions, so on and so forth. He had some legendary matches. I said I was going to gloss over this, but I think now it's important. He had some legendary matches with Chief Wahoo McDaniel back in that time frame. But everything changes. And for Greg, it was for all the right reasons. In 1978, he came to the WWF. He was managed by the Grand Wizard of Wrestling. At that stage in 1978, Bob Backlund was our champion. Greg had some matches with Bob that were classic. He went to a 1-hour draw with Bob in the Garden. Indeed, the other thing that I think I remember Greg for, and we talked about this earlier today, I don't know how many of you remember this, but in 1979, magic was made. Sweet music was made between Greg the Hammer Valentine and the late, great Chief Jay Strongbow. Unfortunately, Strongbow had his leg broken by Greg Valentine's onslaught. The figure 4 leg lock was wreaking havoc back then. But then, what were the payoffs? What was the end result? Sellout after sellout after sellout. Valentine and Strongbow. If it wasn't an Indian strap match, it was a Texas death match. Their rivalry back in 1979 was arguably one of the greatest rivalries in WWF history. Then he went back to the NWA for a little while. He went back there, and how can you not forget the dog collar match with Roddy. But Greg then came back to the WWF. And he came back at the right time, just as the Rock and Wrestling Connection was starting. WrestleMania, the very first one in 1985. Some of us were in it. One of whom was Greg Valentine, and he had a match with the Junkyard Dog. If you remember that, it was a very interesting contest. He also took Jimmy Hart as his manager. He had Captain Lou Albano as his manager as well. Greg Valentine has done it all. He has been a mainstay. And I want to tell you one thing tonight, and I'm going to say this publicly, Greg. Greg said to me, we were just chronicling, going over a couple of things outside, and Greg said, the most important thing I can tell you, Howard, is that I consider the WWF my home. So from my standpoint, that feels pretty good. And you know what else feels pretty good, folks? Right now, I am going to have the pleasure and privilege of introducing to you, coming down the aisle, and new member of the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2014, Greg the Hammer
Me and there was the king, Harley. You know, I've been in this wrestling business a long time. I actually started in March of 1970. So probably a lot of people weren't even born. I know how it was. My dad, I'm going to give a shout out to Johnny Valentine. On a sadder note, I want to give a shout out to my daughter, Vanessa, who passed away 3 weeks ago. And I wasn't even going to say anything, but I had to. And, you know, you're not supposed to bury your daughters, you're supposed to bury you or your children. And in my case, it's sad that I had to do that, but I know she would want me to, I actually thought of not even showing up, but I know she would want me to be here. So shout out to Vanessa. I'm a God-fearing man. I've been born again. Fell off the wagon a few times, but you know, I still love the Lord. And especially at a time like this, and I appreciate being up here with the New England Hall of Fame. It's an honor. I'm humbled for it. I'm in the WWE Hall of Fame, but I was. No disrespect to this Hall of Fame, it means just as much. I left the WWE, whatever it was, in '92, came back several times here and there, but I basically just kept wrestling, and I went to WCW several times, but I did a lot of tours to Japan and Europe, and I kept going and going. And I thought I was invincible, and I was never going to quit wrestling. And the independent kept me going. 4 years ago, I had a real bad accident in Chicago. The step gave away coming out of the ring, and I tore my hamstring completely out. So I had a couple of years off. I got back in the ring again. You know, you can't get it out of your system. I mean, I get in the ring now, and I still wrestle, and I have 3 things that I do. I throw the chop, I drop the elbow, I put the figure 4 on somebody, and I don't take any bumps. I remember when I was with Don Fargo, my dad used to watch the matches, and he says, "You're taking way too many bumps. You need to cut that out, and you never wrestled 40 years like I had." So I cut those out. Only when necessary. But I had a long career in WWF, 18 years. My dad never wanted me to wrestle. He just didn't want me to do it, so I think he tried to change my mind, so he sent me to Stu Hart in Calgary. Good luck. 40 degrees below zero. But you know what? I persevered, and I said, Dad, can I go somewhere a little bit warmer? So he sent me to Detroit. A little bit warmer. With the original Chic, yeah, and actually I stayed, where am I gonna live, Chic? He goes, you're gonna live in my basement. Right next to his retired son, Eddie forehead. No, I shouldn't say that. But he had a ring out the back, and you know something, I never got that ring. I went out and just like, you know, just got the ring, knowing not what to do, and just, I had a little training from Stu, but that was basically Stu taught me how to hook up, and he taught me how to fall backwards, and I think it was about it. Nothing against Stu, because Stu was, you know, he stretched me a little bit and gave me some respect for the business, which I already had, because I watched Johnny Valentine wrestle. And, but you really, you know, there's only so much you can learn in a gym. A lot of independent wrestlers know what I'm talking about. You got to get out there in front of a crowd. You got to ad-lib. You got to learn it in front of people. That's how I learned it. That's the way it is. You know, and you know, I love the business. I've heard some people say that up here before tonight, and you know, it's just, I love it. I can't. I have never honestly had a real job. It's just been wrestling and signing autographs, and you know, I've done some different TV shows now and then, but wrestling is everything that I've done in my life is like, you know, it's just, it's wrestling. I walk through the airport, people recognize me, you know, because I still look the same thing, you know, I still have my hair. If I shave my head and put a mask on, they still recognize me. So, God, I'm glad they recognize me. And I'm glad, you know, I had an illustrious career in the NWA. But like Howard Finkel said, the WWF is where I made my mark. Vincent Van Senior gave me my first break. Gave me, you know, told me that I needed a wrestling hold besides the elbow smash. And he gave me the figure 4 leg lock. I learned how to put it on in the dressing room, get some jabroni, but I don't want to use that term loosely. You know, you can say that I'm the main event jabroni if you want, you know. I let Hulk Hogan beat me. Let Hulk Hogan beat me. But it's a business. It's a great. I hate calling it a business, though. It's a great sport. What sport isn't a business nowadays? You know, they're throwing out these big contracts to get people here and there. So I respect this professional wrestling business. I respect all the, you know, the people from the lowest to the highest. And I just want to thank Joe Bruin. I keep wanting to say Boston Bruins, but I talked to him a few years ago. He was going to bring me up if something happened in his family, and it didn't happen. But I'm glad to be here this time. I'm glad he brought me up, and it's a thrill to be here with Jim Neidhart, Diana Hart.